The Caister Beach Company started in the 1790s, when a dozen men made themselves responsible for salvaging ships wrecked along their stretch of shore and rescuing the survivors. Today, there are some 15 RNLI stations around the East Anglian coast, provided with the most sophisticated lifeboats so far invented. In 1964, the Royal Thames was inaugurated as Caister's newest RNLI lifeboat. The villagers' proud tradition as lifesavers was assured. It was a day of jubilant celebration. However, just 5 years later, the Royal Thames was prepared for another historic launch, its last from Caister. This was an exhibition for all the world. You didn't need to be a modeller to enjoy it. Often the models reflect the history and interests of local people. These are the rallies where young people's first interest is stimulated. It's always a surprise for newcomers and young people to learn that these amazingly realistic models were handmade, bit by bit. How on earth do they do it? Everyone who was anyone was at the Bygones country show, both the young and the not quite so young together. And how did it all begin? Not here, but in England in 1829 with George Stephenson's rocket. Quite correctly, her reproduction stood proudly at the start of our tour to be saluted by her fellow countrymen.
Yes, look at that, Stephenson. Yes. Stephenson counting.
And here is the very first authentic film of a German train entering Berlin station in 1896. By the end of the last century, German railway technology began to lead the world. The first electric locomotive built in 1911, a development quite as important as the first steam, but somehow lacking the charm. It's always told that one of history's most famous horses was bought at Cahirmee, Napoleon's great charger called Marengo after his Italian victory. It could be a tall story, but there's nothing to prove it wasn't true. Many a dealer put it about that any horse he sold on this street had an uncanny sense of direction, which would always take it to the front at race meetings.
Keep that for you.
The sale of a pony as a children's pet is hardly an international deal.
Now, have you something that I can hold him? I can hold him on his hair.
It's just nice to know you've bought your pony from a real expert.
Oh, the pony is a lovely pony.